Hey everyone! I noticed that it's very rare for board game content creators to ever talk about or make lists of their favorite games. So to rectify this, in this video, I have every board game channel on YouTube sharing their #1 board game of all time. We've got the Dice Tower, Shut Up and Sit Down, Our Family Plays Games, no pun included, BoardGameCo, ThinkerThemer, and tons more. So make sure you stick around.
Hello everyone, it's Stella from Meeple University.
And Tarrant here. And our #1 game is Mud by Uwe Rosenberg.
It's a worker placement game in which players compete to build farms which produce various types of mud which they then sell to local restaurants.
Rosenberg is the master of the farming theme, and this is no exception, with actions like dirt shoveling, consistency measurement, soil husbandry,
expeditions to nearby muddy islands,
and of course having to have your workers eat mud at the end of each of the 52 rounds.
Hi, my name is Efka from No Pun Included, and my favorite game of all time is Fingers by Dr. Chuck Dice. In this 2-player only game, you will play cards to move your fingers. So for example, if you play the left finger card, you can move your left finger. But the trick is that what's left for you is right for your opponent. The goal of the game is to give your opponent the center finger. It's genius in its simplicity, a brilliant idea, and it just works.
Hey everybody, so my favorite game of all time has got to be Frozen Yogurt Fiesta 3rd edition. This cutthroat business management game is all about navigating the seedy underworld of the dessert dynasties. And the 3rd edition has brought in some great new stuff. There's an improved toppings market. There's an all-new dairy duel system, which is just fantastic. And rumor has it, the upcoming milkshake expansion is going to be bringing back the cherry variant. Which, if you play the original, I don't need to tell you how important the cherryant is. So, fingers crossed.
Hey y'all, it's Edward from Heavy Cardboard. Now, since my videos usually cover the heavier end of board games, the deeper, more complex games, it'll come as no surprise that my #1 game of all time, of right now, is Bat Time Bubble Babies by Fisher-Price. In it, players take on the role of mommies blowing bubbles during bat time for babies. And there's this really intense decision space when trying to balance optimal bubble morphology as well as blowing trajectory and general chitlin cuteness. It is phenomenal, but definitely for heavy gamers.
Hi, it's Ryan from Knights Around the Table. You asked me about my top game, and I usually don't like to tell people about games that are out of print because it feels like I'm teasing them. But if you go thrifting and you can find a copy of Fifty Gibbershits 2, especially one where the rubber sheep's bladder is intact and is not all cracked out and drying, you're going to have a good time. Or at the very least, you're going to make a bundle of money on eBay.
Hi everybody, I'm Starla.
I'm Mick.
And we are
Our Family Plays Games, yeah!
And we want to tell you about one of our favorite games, Flip Space.
Yes.
Now in this game, you're going to flip the interior of a house.
Now it might be a little messy, a little dangerous, family, because you have 1-inch nails, you have a miniature hammer, you have glue and paint, but it's all fun though, family, it's all fun.
Yes, now you may want to keep a first aid kit nearby because remember last time we played, you hit your thumb with the hammer. You know, but overall it's a fun family game.
It's fun, family.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff Dragon's Tomb. Tom here from Shut Up and Sit Down. And my #1 favourite game of all time has to be the Kafka collectible card game. Nothing feels better in the world of board games than playing a full hand of rare Kafkas and metamorphosing your opponent. Aside from maybe pipping them to the post on the tuberculosis track, this is just a brilliant game.
Hi there, my name is Jamie.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're from Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games.
And
board gamey things.
Exactly. And we wanted to share with you our favorite board game, our #1 board game. Anybody that knows us knows we're a huge fan of
spooky games.
Exactly. So our favorite game is called Booger. This is a hidden movement game where one player plays as a ghost and the other player plays as
bears.
Exactly. The ghost is hunting around and trying to find the bear to scare them.
The really, really cool part about this is there's an RPG element, particularly at the end of the game. So basically, when the ghosts find the bears, they say,
boo!
And the bears say, grrr!
Booger.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Jay from 3 Minute Board Games, and my favourite game of all time is the Ducks of Europe. In this game, you play one of the tribal leaders of Europe, and your goal is to collect a vast array of regional treasures. These include baguettes, haggis, sauerkraut, pizza, and Morris dancers. Ultimately, the tribal leader who erects the biggest henge made out of stone is declared Grand Duke of all Europe.
Hey, I'm Wheels. I'm the head of video over at Dicebreaker, and my current #1 ranked board game is Luton Sightseeing from indie Czech designer Anastasia Novak. I hope I've got the pronunciation correct on that. Luton Sightseeing is a love letter to one of England's most beautiful tourist destinations, inspired by the stories told to them by the designer Novak's own personal English pen pal, Bilgerton Fibber. Players will be set collecting gorgeous illustrations of the stunning vistas and beautiful architecture of the titular town, with a super interesting mix of roll and move and poker-style bluffing. Novak hopes that the sales of her recent release will allow her to one day travel to the storybook town of Luton and finally see the gorgeous destination with her own two eyes. I, for one, am just glad that such a beautiful and intricate game about English culture is getting such mainstream attention.
Hey, I'm Tom Vassell from the Dice Tower. My favorite game is the Eternal Chronicles of Nevermore the Longest Day Part 2. I've been playing it for the past 16 years, and I love it. It's a 6x game of just overwhelms galaxies. There's 200,000 chits in the game, thousands of dice, and it is an exceptionally fantastic experience. I haven't played it for the last couple years because I lost 3-year turn, but in 1 year I'm back in the game and I can't wait to play it again.
Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. It is incredibly hard to pick a favorite game of all time, but I think if I have to, I'm going teeny weeny meanies. I just love the combination of cooperative and take that. It doesn't sound like it should work, but it does so well. And you might hear that and think, well, does he mean semi-cooperative? No, it is a fully cooperative game where you are working together to screw each other over. It's wild.
My favorite solo game has got to be the underrated Physician Heal Thyself, which is a game about being your own medical patient. So you have to manage resources such as opiates and alcohol and sterile medical equipment while also treating your own horrendous injuries. It's a great game, and it's just such a thoughtful statement about modern American healthcare. However, I do recommend playing this solo and probably not around mealtime.
My #1 game of all time is Betrayal of the Lost. I love the asymmetric tableau building and the way it combines the bidding mechanism from Cyclades and Amon-Ra, the combination of which just gives you an incredible Ameritrash/Euro experience. And while I've always enjoyed it, to me it's the introduction of the 6-player expansion that turned it into a 1 versus many experience that was enough to finally push it over the edge and to take the #1 spot for me.
This is Johannes.
And this is Sunava from Board Gaming Ramblings.
And our favorite board game of all time is Sahara.
We love beige and dry Euro games, and nothing is drier or more colorless than Sahara.
Sahara is a pretty heavy game, and a lot of the depths come from actually trying to find the pieces on the board.
We recommend Sahara, the hottest game in our collection.
Hi, I'm Ryan from MVM, and my favorite game is the Galactic Empire Wars 7000 AD, aka the 1000-year Space War, Part 3, Sins of the Stars, the Galactic Entity at the Edge of Nowhere, Legacy Edition, but I will only play it if you use the Cryptids and Zombies modules. If you add the Dexterity module, in fact, I will not play it. I will never play that game again with the Dexterity module, ever.
Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I'm here to talk about my favorite game. You've probably heard of it. It's Ice and Snow, the Fire Saga. If you don't know the game, it's sort of a mix of a fantasy epic with zombies in World War I. And I know what you're thinking if you've played the game. It's 10+ players only and competitive, which is not quite what the One Stop Co-op Shop is all about. But if you know the channel, you know I like to make solo modes for games, and this one came together really well. Each automa only needs about 4 or 5 flowcharts to control its actions. It flows super smoothly after 3 or 4 hours of play. So if you like magic, zombies, alien invasion, any of those themes, I totally suggest you check out Ice and Snow, the Fire Saga.
Hi everybody, we're Amy and Maggie from ThinkerThemer, and we are so excited to talk about our new #1 game of all time, which has come out of nowhere.
Completely unexpected.
Shot up the rankings, and I always thought that my #1 game would be so mechanically interesting, it would maybe combine mechanics in a novel and interesting way, but this game really has no mechanics to speak of.
And it has no theme. And I always thought that my #1 game would be like dripping with theme.
no theme, and I still can't stop thinking about this game. Turns out if you drop mechanics and theme, we can agree on a game. And so our new #1 game is called The Big Cardboard Box with Small Wooden Components Inside. I mean, they could have worked on the title a little more.
Needs a bit of tweaking. Yeah.
Shortening. But anyway, go and check the game out.
Hi, I'm Maddie, a video producer on the Dicebreaker channel, and my #1 game is Sylvanian Families: The Blood Wars. Tons of brands have been getting into the tabletop space over the last few years, and it was really cool to see one of my favourite Sylvanian families, or Calico Critters for you US folks, getting into the space with their post-apocalyptic miniature wargame. It's a chance to see adorable favourites like the Persian cat family battle it out with the marshmallow mice, and see who would win when the blood rains begin. I can't wait for the Enchanted Death Plains expansion in 2023 and to bring even more of my favourite cute creatures into the fight and the March for Souls.
Our favorite board game is Psycho Suckers 2nd Edition. And oh my god, this game is such a wonderful blend of push your luck area control where the dice matter on where you throw them in the card space. Like the dexterity aspect is so well done.
Yeah, I really like the take that sucking mechanics where you take everyone's player boards and you just suck them all to yourself. It's a really big suck.
Yeah, and then it makes the card pile in the middle bigger, which gives more area for the dice to land on so that you can land the big suck, which is like the craziest, most like take that, like gotcha mechanic I've ever seen. And it doesn't feel like completely BS because you see it coming. It's like, wow, the cards are piling up in the middle. This gets bigger and bigger so you can throw more dice onto it.
Yeah, so like the bigger your player board gets sucked, the more you rotate it and exhaust it. So you get exhausted from the sucking.
Yeah, that's like not my favorite aspect, but like I can see where you're coming from. Like, but either way, it just leads to that huge suck.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Devon from Devon Talks Tabletop. I'm here to share my #1 game of all time, which is Burn Your Bridges. It's a competitive social deduction game in which everyone at the table is trying to figure out who their friends are. And if you get the flammable edition of the game, which I own, all the components are made of flash paper, and once you get done with the game, you can set it all on fire.
Hello everybody, my name is Ilya. And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games. And our favorite board game is Otter House. Exactly. It's a worker placement, resource management game where you're essentially trying to make all your otters live cohesively in one house. My favorite part about it is the player interaction. There's so much of it, and every game really feels different because of it. You can steal other people's otters. And that's Otter House.
Hello, this is Shira from Quackalope, and I'm here to tell you guys about my new favorite board game, Foul Friends. This is an area control, resource management, deck building, and drafting game where players play as asymmetric factions of birds. You can be the ducks, the geese, the ravens, the ostriches, the flamingos, and you're all battling for control in the forest. It's a battle of the beaks, literally, and you have to check it out.
Wow, what an incredible list of games, even if most of them were predictable frontrunners. A big thank you to all the content creators who sent in a video. I'm so glad I was able to include every board game channel on YouTube without missing a single one. And on that note, I think the only thing we are missing is my pick. So without further ado, my favorite board game of all time is, drumroll please,